Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community, and numerous of my subscribers have awared me immediately when this video came out that AlphaDestiny, aka Alexander Leonidas, aka Strap-on Destiny, aka the Dwarf Lord. And on a little side note, by the way, I mentioned that last time, and I actually have a bunch of his followers come through and say silly things like, well, you're only like an inch taller than him or whatever. Why are you making fun of his height? Well, number one, because he's admitted he's insecure about it. And if you're going to be that insecure about it and wear lift shoes when you go to meetups and stuff, it's kind of fun to poke a little bit of fun at it because he's admitted it gets under his skin, right? He's admitted to it. Number two, contrary to whatever rumors you hear on the internet, I have been seen at expos hanging around other fitness YouTubers. I'm the same height as Jeff Side. So you decide however tall you think Jeff Side is, because I've been near him. We're the same height. However tall you think he is, that's the same height I am. I'm not even going to give you guys a number. I'm a lot more than an inch taller than Alex. And that's just objective fact. That's an objective fact. So be serious, guys. Set internet rumors to the side and stick with objective reality, right? Objective reality would be that I'm not a mercenary, right? Okay, objective reality. So, over to the point, he made a video about not getting snapped up. And again, some of his message, I absolutely agree with. This is a case of where someone says, do as I say, not as I do. And if you did as he says, then hey, that's great. The problem is that what he does is not what he's telling you to do in this video. And that's kind of the problem here. I don't actually have a problem with this video. I don't have a problem with the message that he put out. In fact, a lot of it's the exact things that I echo. Don't ego lift. Well, what does not ego lifting mean? It means use full range of motion on your exercises. In other words, don't handle weights even for your maxes, that you cannot move through the full effective range of motion of the exercise. Right? Pay attention to connective tissue. Pay attention to your joints. Have a balanced musculature in terms of your strength so that you don't have lagging strength areas that will cause you to get hurt over time, because complete muscular development is important for that. And that includes things like, are your hamstrings strong? Are your quads strong? Do you have imbalances on things like quads to hamstrings? That's the sort of stuff you need to be worried about. Are your rear delts strong? Are your rear delts strong enough to balance your anterior deltoids on pressing exercises? Right? I'm big on those things. Same thing he kind of said, and it's kind of funny because I'm past 40, and, I always tell people this is about the long game. And he said, can you still see yourself doing this at 40? Well, yeah, I'd have to go back in time. And that's kind of what I tell you guys. We need to be thinking in terms of longevity, because life doesn't end in your 20s, guys. It doesn't end in your 20s, and we need to be strong. And we need to be fit and healthy in our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, right? That's what we need to do. We should be deadlifting 500 pounds still when we're 50 and 60 years old. That's perfectly reasonable. Don't hurt yourself. So, he makes valid points there. But by that same token, he's saying, don't ego lift, but he's the king of ego lifting. And that's kind of the problem I have. I wish Alex would just come forward and say, hey guys, I'm sorry for promoting ego lifting that probably hurt a lot of you, that destroyed a lot of gym equipment, that may have permanently injured some of you guys. Please don't do these silly ass above the knee rack pulls. All right, that's a perfect example. Let's talk about an exercise that real experts generally agree is not a safe exercise. It's not even a beneficial exercise, the above the knee rack pull. It's an exercise that this clown promoted for years. That is the reason he and I got into it, and we've got into arguments, and he dislikes me and I dislike him. It's actually because of the above the knee rack pull. That's actually the biggest reason. And he kind of comes back to this thing of, conventional exercises. Well, he does a lot of non-conventional exercises that aren't safer. They do have higher risks of injury. They are problematic. He does do ego lifting that's harmful and hurts people, and that's the problem. That's the problem. It's like he doesn't go back and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't have promoted all this ego lifting and stuff and 3-inch range of motion exercises and a lot of this other silly stuff, teaching guys to do behind the back deadlifts with, again, up to 200 pounds more than you can do in the front, because that's what you should be able to do. In other words, if you're a 400-pound deadlifter, doing 550 or 600 pounds behind your back might not be outside of reach. But think of the stress that it puts on your shoulders, your spine, everything else, because it's a weight you really have no business lifting that you might be capable of into that leverage angle. You might be capable of lifting it, but it really isn't necessarily a good thing. And it is ego lifting at that point. The above the knee rack pulls are ego lifting. How about pin lockouts on the bench press? That's ego lifting. It hurts you. It snaps your shit up. So he's telling people not to get snapped up, but then he has a history of promoting exercises that don't snap you up. And then we talk about sane training, and I'm not saying you only have to do conventional exercises. I do plenty of special exercises. Let's go back over, what does he call special exercises? Where does he get that from? He gets that from Louis Simmons, right? He gets that from Louis Simmons. He's probably read the West Side Barbell Book of Methods. I'm fine with special exercises. They have their place. Special exercises can be very valuable for strengthening your weak points. There's no doubt about that. But what in the hell does any of that have to do with doing silly-ass ego lifts to where you're lifting 200, 400, or 500 pounds more than you would normally be able to lift, but you're just doing little bitty short ranges of motion? How about doing tons of pressing and lifting and everything off of steel pins? Metal on metal contact, right? That actually beats your joints up. Every power lifter in the world knows that. Every powerlifting coach in the world knows that steel on steel beats your joints up. Serious lifters don't do rack pulls inside of a steel rack. If they do, they have rubber set on it, or they pull off of blocks. If they are going to do partials, they pull off of blocks. Why? Because that steel on steel contact not only destroys equipment, it beats your joints up. You don't see power lifters who, even ones who want to do partials, you don't see them hitting steel pins for pin lockouts. They use boards. They use board presses. Why? Because it's a soft touch. Everyone who understands anything about strength training knows that hitting steel pins on your lifts damages your joints. We all know this. This silly-ass kid doesn't know it. So then for him to stand there and tell people, kid, you're going to still be able to do this in your 40s, you're not going to be able to do the shit that you do when you're 40, Alex. You're going to be beat up. Do you really think those above-the-knee rack pulls might not have taken their toll on you? Do you really think you can keep doing all this hitting steel pins all the time for heavy-ass partials? Do you really think you're still going to be doing that when you get, 5 years younger than me? Of course not. That's the problem. That's the problem, is that he is promoting the very thing that he's speaking out against in this video. And that's a hypocritical thing. And it would be one thing if he doesn't do it anymore, if he doesn't promote it anymore, right? Because a lot of us get changes of heart. We do different things and then realize they're not necessarily good. Maybe as a perfect example, because of Greg Knuckles' work, Greg Knuckles convinced me that good mornings were bad, that they would hurt my squat form. I didn't do good mornings for years, and my squat suffered as a result. My squat form suffered as a result. I go back to start doing good mornings again after pulling my lower back with some other issues that weren't fully training related. There were other side factors involved. And then I start doing good mornings again, and all of a sudden, I'm able to squat again pain-free. My squats are slowly improving again. My deadlifts are all coming back up. My numbers are coming back up with me using good mornings as a staple exercise, right? As, again, a special exercise, using a couple different variations. And then coming back and saying, hey, I shouldn't have taken Greg's advice. I took it to heart. He was wrong. I was wrong for saying you shouldn't be doing good mornings, and now I'm doing good mornings. See how that works, guys? You have to step back and say, you know what? I made a mistake. I got some bad advice from a coach. I gave out bad advice regarding that, and I'm taking that advice back, and I now say, hey, this is a good exercise. It has value. It has use. It would be a good idea for a lot of you to incorporate it as an accessory movement, right? That's the difference. We have to, change when we get new information or we realize something isn't working. We have to be willing to make those changes. And the bad part is that I used to do good mornings for years. I used to do good mornings with up to 400 pounds. You guys have seen me on camera do over 300-pound good mornings, remember? Yeah? When I was back in the UK, right? I was doing that for a while. I did some of that on camera. I quit doing them. That's what helped me originally get my squat past 500. That was one of the exercises that contributed to let me get my raw squat without reps above 500 again. I quit doing it, and I've fallen just a hair short of 500 every time I've ramped back up. Is that a coincidence? I don't think that it is. So again, you've got to be able to say, hey, you know what, I was wrong. And that's the problem, is that he promotes this silly shit that he knows is wrong. The very experts he listened to says is wrong. But he doesn't take it back. He doesn't take it back and say, you know what, that was some stupid shit. Just like I will admit, me telling people not to do good mornings because it might mess up your squat technique was stupid shit, and I was wrong. And I listened to someone I should not have listened to. Right? I listened to someone I should not have listened to. Even though that person is a legitimate expert, they're flat wrong. And I was wrong for promoting their nonsense. See how easy that is? And then you move forward and you improve. Alex has to learn how to do that with the size of audience he has, because he still has kids out there who are still emulating him, who are still doing stupid ass steel on steel, barbells hitting steel pins for heavy partials with weights that is heavier than their 1 rep max on a full range of motion, right? That hurts people. You can't stand there and tell people don't get snapped up while you yourself do and promote things that will almost certainly snap every one of these guys up before they reach age 40. You can't do that. That's hypocritical. That's a problem. When we're wrong, we have to be able to step back in and admit that we're wrong. Right? And that is a perfect example of it. But he is right, though, in the other stuff of saying, look, if you're going to get a bunch of advice from guys who are abusing large amounts of drugs, don't expect to get the same results. You're not always going to be able to handle their workloads, and their training methods are not going to work for you, because a lot of their results are coming from the drugs, not necessarily their training methods. And if you're using their training methods without the drugs, don't expect to get their results. In fact, if you don't even have their genetics, you might not even get their results with the drugs and the training methods. They're oftentimes genetic hyper responders to these substances, which is something a lot of people don't factor in either, but that's the reality of it. So the point is, it's like he'll say certain things like that, and it's like, hey, that's great. That's a great message. But then you teach people to do the exact opposite of what you just said. It's a problem. It's a problem. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.